Power is never accidental. It is forged, deliberately, patiently, without mercy for error. Napoleon Bonaparte did not rise through fortune or divine favor. He ascended because he grasped a truth most men spend their lives avoiding. Power is not discovered, it is constructed, layer by layer, through discipline, structure, and unwavering control. Born without inheritance, without lineage, without destiny on his side, Napoleon did not step into authority, he built it. From the beginning, he treated the world as a battlefield. Every action carried intent, every decision served a greater design. Where others reacted, he calculated. Where others hesitated, he advanced. He studied terrain, timing, morale, and momentum long before his rivals understood these forces could be shaped. Napoleon understood that power does not belong to the strongest, it belongs to the best positioned. He believed command over others begins with command over the self. Discipline preceded victory. Order preceded expansion. Control, once mastered within, could then be imposed without. At the core of Napoleon's philosophy stood one immutable law: chaos must be shaped into form. Armies do not fail from lack of bravery, but from confusion, disorder, and doubt. Napoleon eradicated uncertainty wherever it appeared. His soldiers knew their purpose, they knew their place, they knew the objective. Clarity was not generosity, it was a weapon. Napoleon once remarked, "A soldier will fight long and hard for a bit of colored ribbon." This was not sentimentality, it was psychological mastery. He understood that men are moved less by fear than by meaning, by recognition, identity, and belonging. He did not merely command soldiers, he constructed belief. Medals, ranks, honors, these were tools of domination. Through them, Napoleon transformed obedience into loyalty. His men felt chosen, elevated, indispensable, and in return, they followed him beyond reason. This was not kindness, it was precision. Napoleon wielded speed as a weapon. While enemies deliberated, he moved. While they fortified, he maneuvered. To Napoleon, hesitation was decay, momentum was conquest given form. He declared, "In war, moral power is to physical as 3 parts out of 4. He understood that belief outweighs numbers, confidence outpaces firepower, and perception decides battles before they begin. His campaigns were not merely clashes of steel, they were wars of the mind. He sought to disorient his enemies, to exhaust their certainty, to fracture their resolve before engagement. By the time battle was joined, victory had already begun its march. Central to Napoleon's command was a rare equilibrium. Absolute authority paired with operational freedom. He ruled from the summit, yet empowered initiative below. His generals understood his intent so completely that they acted as extensions of his will. This balance defined his genius. Too much control suffocates action, too little invites chaos. Napoleon walked the narrow path between and reshaped Europe in doing so. He saw further than those he led. Strategy to Napoleon was foresight sharpened by discipline. While others chased immediate triumphs, he planned sequences. Each campaign served a future objective. Each sacrifice was intentional. In his own words, a leader is a dealer in hope. Hope was not illusion, it was direction. He gave men a future worthy of endurance, a destination strong enough to justify suffering. Beneath this vision lay something colder, more exacting: control. Napoleon devoured information. He read reports deep into the night. He demanded precision. He rewarded effectiveness and punished incompetence without hesitation. Emotion held no authority over results. He knew that power leaks through disorder, and so he sealed every fracture he could find. Napoleon's rise was not merely the ascent of a conqueror. It was the triumph of a man who mastered systems faster than his age could resist. To him, war, governance, and leadership were not separate arts, but variations of the same discipline. Control the structure, command the tempo, shape the narrative, and above all, never drift. Discipline, to Napoleon, was not restraint, it was domination refined. He believed an undisciplined force, regardless of size, was already defeated. Order was the skeleton upon which power stood. Without it, strength collapsed into noise. Napoleon imposed discipline not through chaos but through consistency. Precision governed logistics, communication, preparation, and execution. Nothing was left to chance. Every variable that could be controlled was. Discipline created predictability. Predictability created command. When expectations are absolute, hesitation dissolves. Napoleon stated, "Nothing is more difficult, and therefore more precious, than to be able to decide." Decisiveness was his creed. Indecision, he believed, drained authority from a leader. To hesitate too long was to surrender command to circumstance. Yet discipline alone could not preserve power. Napoleon extended control beyond the battlefield and into the machinery of society itself. He understood that victories fade, but institutions endure. His most lasting conquest was not territorial, it was structural. The Napoleonic Code was an instrument of order imposed upon chaos. By standardizing law, redefining property, and elevating merit over birth, Napoleon reshaped society to reflect his strategic worldview. Stability became leverage. Order became permanence. Armies win wars. Systems win eras. Through law, education, and bureaucracy, Napoleon centralized authority while cloaking it in rationality. People obeyed not only from fear, but because the system appeared logical, modern, inevitable. Power endured because it wore the mask of reason. Napoleon also mastered narrative. He understood that perception could elevate or destroy authority faster than any enemy. Bulletins were crafted with intent, victories magnified, losses reframed or delayed. He did not merely fight history, he authored it. He once observed, "History is the version of past events that people have decided to agree upon." Napoleon ensured that agreement favored him, but within his brilliance lay the seed of collapse. Napoleon scaled too fast. Success, repeated without restraint, breeds overextension. Confidence sharpened by victory became absolute. Logistics fractured, alliances weakened. Control hardened into rigidity. The invasion of Russia was not a failure of ambition, it was a failure of discipline. He violated his own laws, he advanced without securing supply, he expanded without consolidating structure. The very principles that built his power were ignored. In reflection, Napoleon admitted, "I have made all the calculations, fate will do the rest." But fate does not obey command. Napoleon Bonaparte's life was not a contradiction. It was a lesson written in motion. He proved that power is not inherited. It is constructed by those willing to submit themselves to discipline before commanding others. He demonstrated that authority does not rise from chaos, but from order imposed with intention. And he revealed a final, unforgiving truth. Control, once achieved, must remain adaptive, or it will devour its architect. Napoleon's blueprint was never solely about conquest. It was about alignment. Alignment between vision and execution, between speed and structure, between ambition and restraint. He did not merely win battles, he synchronized systems. Momentum, morale, logistics, law, and narrative moved as one. When these forces marched in harmony, resistance collapsed before him. But when harmony fractured, When expansion outran consolidation, power began to erode. Napoleon once said, "The greatest danger occurs at the moment of victory. Victory seduces, excess follows, and excess blinds even the sharpest minds." The lesson is not to abandon ambition, but to discipline it, to advance swiftly, yet secure what is taken, to command absolutely, yet remain flexible, to expand only when structure can sustain growth. Napoleon's fall does not diminish his brilliance, it completes it. His life stands as a boundary stone in history, marking the limits of power ungoverned by restraint. In the end, Napoleon did not fall for lack of strength. He fell because strength, unchecked, forgets the laws that shaped it. And so his blueprint endures, not as legend, not as mythology, but as instruction. Build order before scale, establish control before expansion, shape perception before confrontation, and never allow momentum to outrun structure. Because power is not something you seize, it is something you maintain. And those who forget this truth are not undone by enemies. They are consumed by the very force they once commanded.